There comes a moment in every life where wishing is no longer enough, where hoping feels weak, where waiting becomes unbearable. That moment is your awakening. That moment is where ordinary thinking dies and powerful creation begins. Listen carefully. You were never meant to drift through life reacting to circumstances. You were designed to shape circumstances, to bend reality through the force of your mind, your will, and your unwavering belief. Everything begins with a dream, but not the kind you casually think about and forget. I'm talking about the kind of dream that consumes you, that keeps you awake at night, that refuses to let you settle for less. A dream so clear, so vivid, that it feels more real than your current situation. Because here is the truth. If your dream is weak, your life will be weak. If your dream is powerful, your life will rise to meet it. But dreaming alone is not enough. There are millions of dreamers, but very few commanders. The difference? Authority. You must learn to command your life. Not ask, not wish, not hope. When you wake up in the morning, your thoughts must not wander aimlessly. They must be directed with precision. You must speak to your mind like a leader speaks to an army, clear, firm, and without hesitation. I will succeed. I will rise. I will become unstoppable. Not as empty words, but as orders, because your subconscious mind does not question you. It obeys you. If you tell it you are weak, it will build weakness. If you tell it you are powerful, it will construct power. If you command success with certainty, it will begin aligning everything within you to achieve it. This is where most people fail, not in ability, not in opportunity, but in belief. They doubt, they hesitate, they question themselves. And that doubt becomes a silent command for failure. You must eliminate that weakness completely. Understand this. Faith is not something you wait for. It is something you create. You create it by repetition. You create it by discipline. You create it by refusing to entertain any thought that contradicts your vision. Even when nothing around you supports your dream, you must stand firm. Even when people doubt you, you must remain unshaken. Even when results are invisible, you must believe with absolute certainty, because everything you now see in the world, every success, every empire, every achievement, was once invisible. It existed only in the mind of someone who refused to let go. Now listen closely. This is where transformation happens. You cannot become powerful externally until you gain control internally. Your mind must become a place of order, not chaos. Your thoughts must become tools, not distractions. Your focus must become unbreakable. Discipline is not optional. It is the foundation. You must discipline your emotions. You must discipline your habits. You must discipline your reactions, because if you cannot control yourself, you will never control your destiny. And once your mind is aligned, once your belief is unshakable, once your discipline is absolute, then comes action, not weak action, not hesitant action, decisive action, relentless action, powerful action. You move forward as if failure is impossible. You act as if success is already written. You execute with the confidence of someone who knows the outcome is guaranteed, because hesitation is the language of doubt, and doubt has no place in a commanding mind. You must become the kind of person who does not wait for opportunities, but creates them, the kind of person who does not fear obstacles, but dominates them, the kind of person who does not follow paths, but builds new ones. And this leads to the final transformation, the most important of all. You must become, not pretend, not imitate. You must become the person who naturally attracts success, the person whose mindset, habits, and energy are aligned with greatness. Because success is not something you chase forever. At some point, success begins to chase you. When your identity changes, your reality has no choice but to follow. So stop waiting, stop doubting, stop negotiating with your potential. Decide right now, decide what you want. Command it with absolute certainty and become the person who makes it inevitable. Because the moment you fully commit, the moment your thoughts, your words, and your actions align, that is the moment your life begins to transform. Not slowly, not eventually, but powerfully. So dream it with intensity, command it with authority, and become it without apology. Your future is not something you find, it is something you create. Clarity of desire is where power is born. Most people think they want success, but they don't know what it looks like, how it feels, or what it demands. They carry vague wishes, and vague wishes produce weak results. A scattered mind creates a scattered life. If your desire is not sharp, your direction will never be strong. You must define exactly what you want with precision so clear that there is no confusion left in your mind. The moment your desire becomes definite, your mind stops wandering and starts focusing. Energy gathers, attention locks in, and your inner world begins to organize itself around a single mission. This is not about wanting more. This is about wanting with intensity, with purpose, with a burning clarity that refuses distraction. You must see it before you ever touch it. Not casually, not occasionally, but repeatedly, consistently, until it becomes a part of your identity. Your mind does not respond to weak images. It responds to vivid pictures that are emotionally charged. When you can close your eyes and see your future as clearly as your present, you activate a force within you that most people never experience. This force does not ask for permission. It begins to pull your thoughts, your decisions, and your actions in one direction. That is the power of clarity. It removes hesitation. It eliminates confusion. It replaces doubt with direction, and direction is what separates those who drift from those who dominate. A clear desire demands commitment. It forces you to choose what matters and eliminate what does not. You cannot carry distractions and expect to move with power. Every unnecessary thought, every meaningless habit, every weak excuse must be cut away. Clarity is not just knowing what you want, it is knowing what you are willing to sacrifice to achieve it. Most people avoid this level of honesty. They say they want greatness, but they protect their comfort. They say they want success, but they avoid discipline. This contradiction weakens their desire, and a weak desire cannot command results. When your desire is truly clear, your actions become aligned without struggle. You no longer debate with yourself. You no longer negotiate with your goals. You act because there is no other option. Your environment will try to blur your vision. People will project their fears, their limitations, and their doubts onto you. They will question your ambition. They will challenge your direction. If your desire is not clear, you will absorb their uncertainty and lose your focus. But when your vision is defined, no external noise can shake you. You become mentally independent. You stop seeking approval. You stop needing validation. You move with certainty because your path is already decided. This is where real confidence is built. Not from praise, not from results, but from clarity. When you know exactly what you are building, you do not need anyone else to believe in it. Clarity transforms effort into power. Without it, you work hard but go nowhere. With it, every action becomes intentional. Every step moves you forward. Your time is no longer wasted on things that do not serve your purpose. Your focus becomes a weapon. And focus, when directed properly, creates unstoppable momentum. You begin to notice opportunities others ignore. You begin to recognize patterns others miss. Your awareness sharpens because your mind is no longer distracted. It is locked in. This is the advantage of a clear desire. It simplifies everything. It removes the unnecessary and amplifies the essential. You must train your mind to return to your vision again and again. Not once a week, not when you feel motivated, but daily, consistently, without exception. Repetition builds belief, and belief strengthens clarity. The more you revisit your desire, the more real it becomes. The more real it becomes, the more power it holds over your actions. This is how you condition your mind to operate at a higher level. You do not leave your future to chance. You program it with intention. Every thought becomes a command. Every image becomes a blueprint. And every decision becomes a step towards something defined, something certain, something inevitable. There will be moments when results are slow, when progress feels invisible, when effort seems unrecognized. This is where unclear minds collapse. They lose faith because they never had a solid vision to begin with. But when your desire is clear, you do not depend on immediate results to stay committed. Your certainty does not come from what you see. It comes from what you know. And what you know is built on the clarity you have created within yourself. This internal stability keeps you moving forward when others stop. It keeps you focused when others get distracted. It keeps you strong when others become weak. A clear desire changes the way you carry yourself. It changes the way you speak, the way you think, and the way you act. You begin to move with purpose. Your energy becomes different. Your presence becomes stronger. People can sense when someone knows exactly what they want. There is no hesitation in their voice. There is no confusion in their decisions. There is a directness, a certainty, a quiet power that commands attention without asking for it. This is not something you fake. This is something you build through clarity. It is the result of knowing your direction so deeply that it becomes a part of who you are. You are not here to wander through possibilities. You are here to choose a direction and move with power. Every moment you remain unclear is a moment you delay your progress. Every second you hesitate is a second you give away your potential. The world does not reward confusion. It responds to certainty. It moves for those who move with intention, and intention is born from clarity. When your desire is defined, your mind aligns. When your mind aligns, your actions follow. And when your actions are consistent, results become unavoidable. Mental authority is the moment you stop negotiating with your mind and start directing it with power. Most people live as followers of their own thoughts, reacting to every doubt, every fear, every passing emotion as if it holds control over them. They wake up and let their mood decide their direction. They let circumstances shape their attitude. They surrender their focus to distractions without resistance. This is weakness. This is a lack of command. And without command, there is no control. You were not designed to be ruled by your thoughts. You were designed to rule them. The moment you understand this, everything begins to shift. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop drifting and start deciding. Your mind is not your master unless you allow it to be. It is a tool, and like any powerful tool, it must be handled with discipline and precision. If you do not give it direction, it will create its own. And its default direction is comfort, fear, and avoidance. That is why so many people remain stuck. Not because they lack intelligence or opportunity, but because they lack authority over their own thinking. They entertain negative thoughts without challenge. They repeat limiting beliefs without awareness. They allow doubt to grow until it feels like truth. This silent surrender shapes their reality in ways they do not even realize. But the moment you take control, the moment you decide that every thought must serve your purpose, you begin to reclaim your power. Authority begins with awareness. You must observe your thoughts without attachment. Notice what enters your mind throughout the day. Notice the patterns, the repetition, the tone. Are your thoughts building you or breaking you? Are they moving you forward or holding you back? This level of awareness is not passive. It is active control. Because once you see a thought clearly, you gain the ability to accept it or reject it. And rejection is where authority strengthens. You do not entertain every idea. You do not give space to every fear. You choose what deserves your attention and what must be eliminated. This selective focus is what separates a controlled mind from a chaotic one. But awareness alone is not enough. You must replace what you remove. If you eliminate doubt but do not install belief, your mind will return to its old patterns. This is why repetition becomes essential. You must speak to your mind with intention consistently until your chosen thoughts become dominant. You must declare strength until weakness disappears. You must repeat certainty until doubt has no place to exist. This is not about pretending, this is about conditioning. The same way negative patterns were built through repetition, positive authority is built the same way. Every statement you repeat becomes a command. Every command shapes your internal environment, and your internal environment determines your external results. Mental authority also demands emotional control. Your emotions are powerful, but they are not always accurate. They respond to your thoughts, not to reality itself. If your thinking is weak, your emotions will follow. If your thinking is strong, your emotions will align. This is why you cannot let temporary feelings dictate permanent decisions. You must learn to act beyond emotion, to move with discipline even when motivation is absent, to stay focused even when distractions are loud. This level of control is not easy, but it is necessary. Because without it, you will always be pulled in different directions, never fully committed, never fully consistent. There will be moments when your mind resists your command. It will try to return to old habits, old fears, old limitations. This resistance is natural. It is the result of past conditioning. But you must not give in. Authority is not proven when things are easy. It is proven when your mind pushes back and you still maintain control. You must stand firm in your decisions. You must repeat your commands with greater intensity. You must reinforce your direction until your mind has no choice but to follow. This is how authority becomes permanent. Through persistence, through repetition, through refusal to surrender, your environment will test your mental strength. External situations will challenge your focus, people will question your decisions, circumstances will try to shake your confidence. If your authority is weak, you will absorb these influences and lose your direction. But when your authority is strong, you remain stable. You do not react to every opinion. You do not adjust your path based on temporary pressure. You stay aligned with your purpose regardless of what surrounds you. This is true independence, not isolation from the world, but control within it. The ability to remain focused, clear, and certain in any situation. As your mental authority strengthens, your behavior begins to change. You become more decisive. You waste less time. You hesitate less. Your actions become direct and intentional. You no longer wait for the perfect moment because you understand that waiting is often a form of avoidance. You create momentum through action, and that momentum reinforces your authority. Each step forward confirms your control. Each decision strengthens your confidence, and over time this builds a mindset that is unshakable. Your identity is shaped by what you consistently command. If you constantly tell yourself that you are limited, you will live within those limits. If you command growth, strength, and success, you will begin to act in alignment with those commands. This is not theory. This is cause and effect. Your thoughts create patterns. Your patterns create habits. Your habits create results. And your results reinforce your identity. When you take authority over the beginning of this process, you gain influence over everything that follows. There is no power in uncertainty. There is no strength in hesitation. You either direct your mind or your mind directs you. You either take control or you surrender it. Every thought you allow, every belief you repeat, every decision you make is either strengthening your authority or weakening it. This is happening every moment, whether you notice it or not. The question is not whether your mind is being controlled. The question is who is in control. Faith in the invisible is the force that separates those who create from those who wait. Most people rely only on what they can see, touch, and measure, and because of that, they limit themselves to what already exists. They need proof before belief, results before commitment, evidence before action. This dependency traps them in a cycle where nothing new is ever born. But the ones who rise above this limitation understand a deeper truth. They understand that everything visible was once invisible. Every achievement, every structure, every success began as an unseen idea held firmly in the mind of someone who refused to doubt it. You must learn to trust what has not yet appeared. This is not blind belief. This is controlled conviction. It is the decision to hold a vision so strongly that it begins to influence your behavior long before it becomes reality. Your mind is capable of creating internal certainty even when external validation is absent. This certainty becomes your foundation. Without it, you will constantly hesitate, constantly question, constantly retreat the moment challenges arise. But with it, you move forward with a sense of direction that does not depend on circumstances. The invisible world is where all power begins. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your imagination, these are not weak forces. They are the blueprint of everything you will ever experience. What you repeatedly think about, you begin to accept. What you accept, you begin to act upon. And what you act upon consistently becomes your reality. This process is always active, whether you are aware of it or not. The difference is that most people allow it to operate randomly, while a few choose to direct it with intention. Faith is built through repetition and emotional intensity. You cannot casually believe in something and expect it to shape your life. You must feel it. You must connect to it. You must return to it again and again until it becomes a dominant force in your thinking. This is how you program your subconscious mind. This is how you turn a distant idea into a present influence. When your belief becomes strong enough, it begins to override doubt. It begins to silence fear. It begins to guide your decisions automatically. There will be moments when reality contradicts your vision. Moments when nothing seems to be working, when progress is slow, when results are nowhere to be seen. This is where most people lose faith. They look at their current situation and allow it to define their future. They abandon their vision because it is not yet visible. But this is the test. This is the moment where true faith is required. Not when things are easy, not when results are clear, but when everything around you suggests that nothing is happening. You must hold your belief steady in those moments. You must continue to think, act, and move as if your outcome is certain. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to let temporary conditions control your long-term direction. Your present situation is not a final result. It is a stage. It is a process. and processes require time, consistency, and persistence. If you lose faith in the middle, you interrupt the process. You break the pattern. You return to the starting point without realizing it. Your environment will not always support your vision. People will question you, they will doubt you, they will project their own fears onto your goals. If your faith is weak, their words will influence you. Their uncertainty will become your uncertainty. But when your belief is strong, external opinions lose their power. You no longer need approval. You no longer seek validation. You become self-directed. You trust your vision because you have conditioned your mind to accept it as truth. Faith also requires patience, not passive waiting, but active persistence. You continue to work, to move, to improve, even when there is no immediate reward. This is where discipline and faith connect. Discipline keeps you consistent. Faith keeps you focused. Together they create momentum, and momentum, once built, becomes difficult to stop. Small actions begin to compound. Small improvements begin to accumulate. What once felt invisible starts to take form. You must also guard your mind against negative influence. Every doubt you entertain weakens your belief. Every fear you repeat strengthens resistance. You cannot allow conflicting thoughts to exist without control. If you want to build strong faith, your thinking must be aligned. You must consciously choose thoughts that support your vision and reject those that do not. This is not about ignoring challenges. It is about maintaining a mental environment that supports progress instead of blocking it. As your faith grows, your behavior changes. You become more confident, more decisive, more willing to take action. You stop waiting for perfect conditions because you understand that conditions are rarely perfect. You begin to create opportunities instead of searching for them. You trust your ability to adapt, to learn, to overcome. This trust is not based on past success. It is based on internal belief. It is based on the understanding that you can figure things out as you move forward. Your identity begins to shift. You no longer see yourself as someone who hopes for success. You see yourself as someone who is building it. This shift is powerful because it changes how you approach everything. You become more responsible, more focused, more committed. You stop making excuses because excuses no longer align with who you believe you are. You start making decisions that reflect your future, not your past. The invisible becomes visible through consistency, not through luck, not through chance, but through repeated action guided by belief. Every step you take under the influence of strong faith brings your vision closer to reality. Even when progress is not immediately obvious, something is happening. Skills are developing, awareness is increasing, opportunities are forming, connections are being made. These changes may not always be visible at first, but they are real. You must understand that doubt will always exist as a possibility. It will appear at times, especially when you are pushing beyond your comfort zone. But doubt does not have to control you. It only becomes powerful when you give it attention. When you focus on it, repeat it, and accept it, it grows. But when you recognize it and replace it with belief, it weakens. This is your responsibility, to manage your thoughts, to guide your focus, to protect your vision. Your future is not determined by what you see today. It is determined by what you believe and how consistently you act on that belief. The invisible is not empty. It is full of potential waiting to be shaped. Your thoughts are the tools. Your faith is the force. And your actions are the bridge that connects the two. Relentless inner discipline is the force that turns intention into execution and separates temporary motivation from permanent transformation. Most people rely on feeling ready before they act. They wait for the right mood, the right energy, the right moment. But mood shift, energy fluctuates, and perfect moments rarely arrive. If your progress depends on how you feel, your progress will always be inconsistent. Discipline removes that dependency. It creates a standard that does not change based on emotion. It demands action regardless of comfort. It establishes control where there would otherwise be chaos. Your mind will constantly search for ease. It will suggest delay, offer excuses, and justify inaction with convincing logic. It will tell you to rest when you should work, to avoid when you should confront, to hesitate when you should move. This is not a flaw. It is a natural tendency toward comfort. But if you follow it without resistance, it will keep you trapped in a cycle of average behavior. Discipline is the interruption of that cycle. It is the decision to act against convenience in favor of progress. It is the refusal to let temporary discomfort dictate permanent outcomes. Every action you take is either strengthening your discipline or weakening it. There is no neutral ground. When you follow through on what you said you would do, you build trust with yourself. When you break your own commitments, you erode that trust. Over time, this pattern defines your identity. A disciplined person is not someone who acts perfectly. It is someone who acts consistently, someone who honors their standards even when it is difficult. This consistency creates momentum, and momentum, once established, becomes a powerful force that carries you forward. Inner discipline begins with controlling your thoughts. Before you can master your actions, you must influence the thinking that drives them. If your thoughts are scattered, your behavior will be scattered. If your thoughts are focused, your behavior will follow. You must learn to direct your attention with intention, to bring your mind back when it drifts, to focus on what matters and ignore what does not. This is not a one-time effort. It is a continuous process. Distraction will always exist. The difference is whether you allow it to take control or you take control of it. Your habits are the physical expression of your discipline. They are the repeated actions that shape your daily life. Most people underestimate their impact because they seem small in the moment. But small actions repeated over time create significant results. Discipline ensures that these actions are aligned with your goals. It removes randomness and replaces it with structure. It transforms effort into a system, and systems are what produce reliable outcomes. When your habits are strong, you no longer rely on willpower alone. Your routine carries you even when your motivation is low. There will be resistance. There will be moments when every part of you wants to stop, to delay, to choose the easier path. This resistance is not a sign to quit. It is a signal that you are moving beyond your comfort zone. Growth does not happen in ease. It happens in challenge. Discipline is what allows you to stay in that challenge long enough to benefit from it. It keeps you moving when progress feels slow. It keeps you focused when distractions are loud. It keeps you committed when doubt begins to appear. You must also understand the importance of standards. Discipline without standards is directionless. You must define what is acceptable and what is not. You must set clear expectations for your behavior and hold yourself accountable to them. This is not about perfection. It is about consistency. It is about showing up, doing the work, and maintaining your effort over time. When your standards are clear, your decisions become easier. You no longer debate whether to act. You already know what is required. Your environment can either support your discipline or challenge it. If you surround yourself with distractions, your focus will be tested constantly. If you surround yourself with structure, your discipline becomes easier to maintain. This does not mean you depend on your environment. It means you design it in a way that supports your goals. You remove what weakens your focus and add what strengthens it. This is a strategic approach. It reduces unnecessary resistance and allows you to direct more energy toward progress. Discipline also requires recovery and balance. It is not about pushing endlessly without rest. It is about managing your energy so that you can sustain your effort over time. You must recognize when to pause, when to reset, when to prepare for the next phase of action. This awareness prevents burnout and maintains consistency. It ensures that your discipline is not temporary but long-term. Sustainable discipline is what leads to lasting results. As your inner discipline strengthens, your confidence begins to grow, not because of external validation, but because of internal proof. You see yourself following through. You see yourself acting despite resistance. You see yourself maintaining your standards. This builds a quiet confidence that does not depend on others. It is based on evidence. It is based on experience. And it reinforces your ability to continue. Your identity evolves through discipline. You no longer see yourself as someone who tries. You see yourself as someone who executes. This shift changes how you approach challenges. You become more resilient, more focused, more determined. You stop looking for shortcuts because you understand that consistency is more powerful. You stop relying on motivation because you have built a system that works without it. Relentless inner discipline is not about intensity for a short period. It is about consistency over a long period. It is about showing up every day, doing the work, and maintaining your standards regardless of circumstances. It is about building a mindset that values progress over comfort, action over hesitation, and commitment over convenience. This mindset becomes your foundation. It supports everything you do. You must decide whether you will follow your impulses or your intentions, whether you will act based on how you feel or based on what you know is required. This decision is made daily, moment by moment, and each decision shapes your path. Discipline is not a single act. It is a series of choices that align with your goals. These choices, repeated over time, create results that cannot be ignored. The power of discipline is not in what it demands in the moment, but in what it builds over time. It builds strength, focus, consistency, and resilience. It transforms potential into performance. It turns ideas into action and action into results. It creates a structure that supports growth and a mindset that sustains it. Action with certainty is the dividing line between those who think about success and those who actually create it. Most people spend their lives preparing, analyzing, waiting for the perfect moment to begin. They gather information, they plan endlessly, they hesitate at every step, believing that more clarity will come before they move. But clarity does not come before action. It comes because of action. And certainty is not something you find after you begin. It is something you decide before you take the first step. Hesitation is the silent destroyer of progress. It appears in small moments, in delayed decisions, in overthinking simple choices. It convinces you that waiting is wise, that caution is strength, that delay is preparation. But in reality, hesitation weakens momentum. It breaks focus. It creates doubt where there should be direction. Every time you pause when you should move, you train your mind to question itself. And over time, that questioning becomes a habit that keeps you stuck in place, while others move forward with less information but more conviction. Certainty does not mean you know every detail. It means you trust your ability to handle whatever comes next. It is the understanding that you will adapt, learn, and adjust as you move. This mindset removes the fear of the unknown because you no longer need to control every outcome. You only need to control your response. When you act with this level of trust, you unlock a different kind of energy. Your decisions become faster. Your movements become sharper. Your focus becomes stronger because you are no longer dividing your attention between action and doubt. There is a power in decisive movement that cannot be replaced by planning alone. When you act quickly and with intention, you create momentum. And momentum changes everything. It builds confidence, increases clarity, and reveals opportunities that were not visible before. Most opportunities do not appear to those who are standing still. They appear to those who are already in motion. Action creates access. It opens doors that cannot be seen from a distance. It brings you into environments where growth becomes inevitable. Fear often disguises itself as logic. It tells you to wait, to think more, to gather more evidence before you move. It presents caution as intelligence. But if you look closely, you will see that this logic is often rooted in uncertainty and self-doubt. True intelligence is knowing when enough is enough. It is recognizing that endless preparation is a form of avoidance. At some point, you must move. You must step forward without complete assurance. You must trust that your ability will rise to meet the challenge. Action with certainty requires commitment. Not partial effort, not temporary focus, but full engagement with your direction. When you decide to act, you must remove the option of retreat. You must eliminate the mindset of trying and replace it with doing. Trying leaves room for failure as an expectation. Doing creates a standard where completion becomes the goal. This shift in language may seem small, but it has a powerful impact on your behavior. It changes how you approach tasks. It changes how you respond to difficulty. It changes how you measure progress. You will not always feel ready. There will be moments when doubt appears, when fear rises, when your confidence is tested. These moments are not signals to stop. They are part of the process. They are the resistance that strengthens your ability to continue. Acting with certainty in these moments builds resilience. It trains your mind to move forward despite discomfort. And over time, this becomes your default response. You no longer wait for confidence. You create it through action. Your environment will not always support your decisions. People may question your direction. They may doubt your ability. They may suggest safer paths or slower approaches. If your certainty is weak, their opinions will influence you. You will begin to second-guess yourself. You will adjust your plans to match their expectations. But when your certainty is strong, external opinions lose their power. You listen, you evaluate, but you do not allow others to control your path. Your direction is internally defined. Your actions are internally driven. Mistakes are inevitable when you move quickly. But mistakes are not failures. They are feedback. They provide information that cannot be gained through theory alone. Each mistake refines your approach. Each adjustment improves your strategy. When you act with certainty, you do not fear mistakes. You use them. You learn from them. You integrate them into your progress. This creates a cycle of continuous improvement that keeps you moving forward. Speed is often misunderstood. It is not about rushing without thought. It is about reducing unnecessary delay. It is about making decisions with confidence and executing them without hesitation. When you combine speed with intention, you create efficiency. You move faster without losing direction. You act quickly while staying aligned with your goals. This balance is what allows you to maintain progress over time. Consistency is what turns action into results. Acting once with certainty is not enough. You must repeat it. You must build a pattern of decisive movement. This repetition strengthens your mindset. It reinforces your identity as someone who acts, not someone who waits. Over time, this identity becomes natural. You no longer need to push yourself to act. It becomes your default behavior. Your confidence grows with every action you take, not because the outcome is always positive, but because you prove to yourself that you can move despite uncertainty. This proof builds internal strength. It reduces fear. It increases trust in your own ability. And this trust is what allows you to take bigger steps, to face larger challenges, to pursue greater goals. Action with certainty changes how you experience time. You stop wasting it on indecision. You stop losing it to hesitation. You begin to use it with purpose. Every moment becomes an opportunity to move forward. Every decision becomes a step toward your goal. This focused use of time accelerates your progress. It brings results closer. It creates a sense of urgency that keeps you engaged. You must decide whether you will wait for certainty or create it, whether you will depend on external validation or build internal conviction, whether you will allow fear to slow you down or use action to move beyond it. This decision shapes everything that follows. It determines how you approach challenges, how you respond to uncertainty, how you build your future. Identity transformation is the point where everything changes, not on the outside first, but deep within the core of who you believe you are. Most people try to change their results without changing their identity. They chase success, they force habits, they push themselves to act differently, but inside they still see themselves the same way. This creates conflict. Their actions move in one direction, but their identity pulls them back. And over time, identity always wins. You cannot outperform the image you hold of yourself for long. Eventually, you return to what feels familiar, to what feels true, to what you believe you are. If you want a different life, you must become a different person in your mind first. Not partially, not temporarily, but completely. This is not about pretending. It is about redefining. It is about deciding with absolute clarity who you are now and who you are no longer willing to be. This decision is powerful because it creates a line between your past and your future. It removes the option of going back. It forces you to act in alignment with a new standard. And that standard is built on identity, not on temporary motivation. Your identity is shaped by repetition. Every thought you accept, every action you repeat, every belief you reinforce becomes a part of how you see yourself. If you constantly delay, you begin to see yourself as someone who hesitates. If you consistently follow through, you begin to see yourself as someone who executes. These patterns may seem small, but they accumulate. They create a mental image that feels real, that feels permanent. And once that image is established, your behavior aligns with it automatically. Transformation begins when you interrupt these patterns, when you stop reinforcing the identity that limits you and start building one that empowers you. This requires awareness and intention. You must recognize the habits, thoughts, and behaviors that no longer serve your future, and you must replace them with ones that do. This is not a one-time change. It is a continuous process. Each decision you make either strengthens your new identity or weakens it. And over time, these decisions define who you become. You must also change the way you speak about yourself. Your words are not neutral. They are declarations. When you say you are tired, weak, or incapable, you reinforce that identity. When you say you are focused, disciplined, and determined, you begin to build a different image. This is not about empty statements. It is about consistent reinforcement. Your mind listens to what you repeat, and what you repeat becomes what you believe. This belief then influences your actions, your choices, and your results. Your environment plays a role, but it does not define you. It can influence your thinking, but it cannot control your identity unless you allow it. You may be surrounded by limitations, by doubt, by negativity, but you are not required to accept those influences. You can choose a different standard. You can decide that your identity is not based on your surroundings, but on your vision. This decision separates those who remain where they are from those who rise above it. There will be resistance during this transformation. Your mind will try to return to what is familiar. It will remind you of your past behavior, your past failures, your past limitations. It will question your new identity. It will suggest that you are pretending that you are not truly that person. This is where most people stop. They believe these